Hello guys, welcome to Bhavna's Online Academy. So in this video, we are going to cover the most awaited chapter, which is amalgamation of companies. You guys have been requesting this chapter for past 1 year and we are finally here with this chapter. So let me give you a little introduction about how we are going to go about this. So this is the first video where we are going to cover all the concepts related to amalgamation of companies chapter. There's going to be a further part where we are going to discuss all the ICAI questions so that you get a better understanding of how to solve the sums too. Yes, in case if you want to check out other chapters of this accounting series, then the link of the playlist is going to be in the description box below. So do check out that too. And today I'm going to use the handwritten notes for amalgamation of companies. The handwritten notes you will find on my Telegram channel for absolutely free of cost, the link of which is also in the description box below. So now that we are done with our introduction, let's now start with the chapter of amalgamation of companies. So starting with the concept number 1, which speaks of the differences of 3 different forms, which is one, amalgamation, absorption and external reconstruction. So all these three, the accounting for all these three kinds of, 3 different kinds of framework is same, but there is a slight difference between what these 3 terms mean. The first is amalgamation. Amalgamation is when there is a company which is amalgamation is when there is a company called as A Limited, there is another company called as B Limited, and both of them come together to form a new company which is called C Limited. So this is known as amalgamation, where 2 companies amalgamate or join to form another company called C Limited. So those 2 companies which will get amalgamated, A plus B, will be called as old company. The company which is newly formed will be called as your new company here. Okay. The second form which we discussed is absorption. Absorption is where you will be able to understand from the term itself that it is absorbing. So there is, suppose B Limited. So what B Limited is doing is, it is not amalgamating with A Limited, rather it is taking over the A Limited entirely. For example, you would have heard of this, that Zomato absorbed, or Zomato took over Uber Eats. So now Uber Eats is no more a separate platform, but it is a sub part of Zomato. Okay. So here B Limited has taken over A Limited. Okay. It has taken over A Limited. So there is only one company which is left now, which is B Limited, and A Limited is fully gone away. I hope you understood this also. So here, which is the old company and which is a new company? So B Limited is a company which is still existing, so it is going to be the new company. A has been taken over by B, so A is going to be the old company here. Okay. Next is external reconstruction. So external reconstructions happen when a particular company, is facing a lot of issues, and to get out of such legal issues, it is reframing itself. It is reframing itself, or rather we can say, it is finding a new version of itself. So these both are the same companies only, but only the legal framework or the names have been changed. So A Limited has converted into B Limited. So these both are same companies only, but the same company has changed from one form to another form. So here the A Limited, which was the old form of the company, will be known as the old company. B Limited, which is the new form of the company, will be known as new company. Okay. So I hope you understood this. You need not understand these differences as much as in detail. You would need to only understand the accounting. If you understand that, that is more than enough. This I just gave you for an introduction. Okay. Now let's start with what is amalgamation, the most important part. I told you that there will be one company which will amalgamate or come together or join hands with another company, and these both will together form a new company called a C company. Okay. So we have understood that there is old company and there is new company, but in our books or in our ICAI terminology, you do not call it a old company or a new company. You need to use a professional language. So the old company is called a transferor company, new company is called a transferee company. Okay, rather than you just changing the terminology here. But how are we going to remember which is transferor and which is transferee? An easy technique to remember, which everyone uses, is that if it is an old company, there is a letter O in that. So in transfer also there is a letter called O in that. So old company, transferor. If you see new company, see the vowel again. So E is a vowel there. In the transferee also you have E here. So if it's an old company, transferor. If it's a new company, transferee. I hope you understood the shortcut to remember the names too, so you don't get confused anymore. Okay. Fine. Next we are going to understand. So this is where the chapter is going to start officially. Okay, the accounting of this chapter. So you have to understand three things in this chapter. First, how do you find out the purchase consideration? Second, how you are going to account in the books of the old company. Third, how are you going to account it in the books of the new company? If these three things you are able to understand, the chapter is done and dusted here. The chapter is done and dusted here. So first we are going to learn how do you find out the purchase consideration. So for those of you all who don't know what is purchase consideration, let me just give you a gist here. So what is purchase consideration? Purchase consideration means there is an old company which is A. A and B is joining hands together to form a new company. Or supposedly we can also take the example where A is being taken over by B company. So B has two. So A is an already existing company. B is also an already existing company, but B wants to end the competition and A is a competition for B. So what it does is it is taking over the A Limited so that A Limited is no more in existence and it is clubbed with B Limited itself. So therefore there is no competition. Okay. So here to convince A to come under B or to convince A to get absorbed into B, B has to pay something. B has to pay something. Correct. So what B is going to pay to A Limited or the owners of A Limited, so that the owners of A Limited let goes of this company and gives it to B, this money what you pay to the A Limited will be called as your purchase consideration. Let me explain you this again. So there is A Limited, there is B Limited. So what is the owner of B Limited thinks is A Limited is a competition. So owner of B Limited goes to the owners of A Limited and tells the owners of A Limited that please sell this company to us. We will take care of it. In return of that, you take some money from us. So the owners of A Limited agree to it. Okay, so what money that B Limited is going to pay to the owners of A Limited will be called as your purchase consideration. So this is going to be called as your purchase consideration. I hope you understood this. So the purchase consideration can be directly given in the question. But in case if it is not directly given in the question, then you can use two methods. One is your net payments method and the other one is your net assets method. Okay. So how do you have to find out this purchase consideration? Example in the question can directly tell you that B Limited paid 50 lakh rupees to A Limited to get absorbed into it. So this 50 lakh rupees is the purchase consideration which you can directly take it. But ICI will not be that easy. So here you have to apply any other two methods if it's not directly given. One is net payment method, other is net asset method. So always first priority you have to give to net payments method. If net payments method is not working out or you're not able to find the answer by net payments method, then only you have to use the net assets method. I hope you understood which is the first priority and which is the second priority also. Now first we are going to learn how do we find out using net payments method, and after that we will understand how to find the PC using net assets method. Okay. So first starting with the net payment method. Okay. So what is net payment method? Net payment method includes all the things that are paid to the owners of the old company, to the owners of the old company or to the owners of A Limited. Whatever you are going to pay, all these things are going to come as a PC. All these things are going to be considered as PC. So question number one is who are the owners? Question number two is what are the things that can be paid to these owners? In what form can you pay to these owners? So first, who are the owners? The owners of the company are the shareholders of the company. So equity shareholders or preference shareholders of the old company will be called as the owners of the old company. So whatever you pay to the equity shareholders and preference shareholders of the old company, that will come under PC. So now in all things paid, I've told here, all things paid means what kind, in what form can you pay to these owners? You can either pay to them in shares or you can pay to them in cash or you can pay to them in debentures also. Let's take a real life example. Suppose, I am Bhavna and I am going to a shop. Okay. And I'm going to a shop and to the shopkeeper, from the shopkeeper, suppose I'm getting a chocolate. Suppose I'm getting a chocolate from the shopkeeper. So this is the shop and from the shopkeeper I'm getting a chocolate. That shopkeeper is telling me for this chocolate you need not only pay in cash, you can pay in any form. It is your wish. So he tells me it is your wish, in any form you can pay it to me. So either I can pay to him in the form of shares. Suppose the chocolate is worth 100 rupees. So 100 rupees of shares I can give him, or 100 rupees of cash I can give him, or 100 rupees of debentures I can give him. Any form I can pay to the shareholder for that 100 rupees worth. Okay. So to the shopkeeper which is worth 100 rupees. I hope you understood. The same way here the shopkeeper is nothing but the person who is selling his company. So the owners of the company are the shopkeeper here, which is equity shareholders and preference shareholders. They have to get money from the new company. They have to get money from the new company, and they can get that money in any form. It can either be in the form of shares, cash, or debentures. Okay, so I hope you have understood this completely. So remember, the money that you pay to the owners of the company, the money that you pay to the owners of the company will only come under PC. For example, in the question they have given you that there is new company and then there is old company. In the old company, there are some debenture holders. Okay, and this debenture holders also want some settlement. So this new company, what it is doing is it is giving cash to this debenture holders, or this new company is going to settle the debenture holders by giving new debentures of new company. Okay, so something like that, some kind of settlement it is telling. Here you have to see whether these debenture holders are the owners of old company. The answer is no. They are just like more like creditors of the old company. So here, whatever the new company is going to pay to this debenture holders, this will not be considered as PC. This will not be considered as PC. Please understand, only what you pay to the shareholders, equity shareholders or preference shareholders of the old company, only that will come under PC. So here let me ask you one quiz. Let me quiz you. Okay. So first is you are paying shares. You're paying using shares to the debenture holders. Okay. Second one is you are paying debenture holders. You are paying debentures to the shareholders. You are paying debentures to the shareholders of old company. You are paying debentures to the debenture holder, or you are paying shares to the debenture holders of old company. So here you have to first check who is the payment being made to. Here the payment is being made to shareholders. Okay, so this will come to PC. What are the shareholders being paid? The shareholders are being paid debentures. That does not matter. So what matters here is to whom you're paying, and here you're paying to the shareholder. Where above you're paying it to the debenture holders in the form of shares. Here that shares does not matter. Here the matter is whom you're paying, which is debenture holders. So this will not be considered under PC. I hope you understood this clearly. Yes. So now let's understand what format you're going to prepare when you're going to find your what do we say, your PC using net payments method. Okay, first you have to prepare first column, which is who you are going to make payment to. Who you are going to make payment to? Either you'll be making payment to the equity shareholders of old company or the preference shareholders of the old company, because you make payment only to the owners of the old company. Okay, in what form are you going to make the payment? You can either pay in cash, equity shares, preference shares, or debentures. Any form is acceptable. Usually in our questions, these three forms are usually given. Debentures is not so commonly given. If you are paying in the form of cash, no problem. Directly you can write that value here. Okay, but in case if you are paying in the form of equity shares or preference shares, you might have to do some workings here. So how you do that workings is what we are going to understand. Okay. So first in the question, for example, they'll give you that there are equity shareholders of old company. So what you're going to do is 50% you're going to pay in cash, rest 50% you are going to pay in what do we say, in the form of shares they can give you. Either if not like this, what they will tell you is already the old shareholders, if they had one share in the company, one share as an old share, they will issue two new shares against it. Two new shares of new company they are going to issue. What they'll tell you that if you have an old share, that is one share in the old company, you will get two new shares in the new company. In exchange of that one old share of old company, you will get two new shares of new company. So that ratio, swap ratio, they can give you. Okay, so if they tell you something like this, then in such case you have to write the swap ratio here. So here swap ratio, what they have told you, they have told you that if you have one share in the old company, you will get two new shares in the new company. Supposedly you had some 10 shares in the old company, write that. You have written the ratio here wrongly. One second. Okay, so here they are telling that if you have one share in the old company, you will get two new shares in the new company. Okay, so if you already had 10 shares in the old company, then you will get two more shares. That is, in exchange of one, you are going to get two shares. So you are going to get 20 shares in the new company. So you'll get 20 shares in the new company. These 20 shares in the new company, at what value you are going to get? At what value you are going to get? That is what you have to find using this. Either in question, fair value will be given, or paid up value will be given, or par value will be given, or some agreed value will be there. Suppose they are telling you that they are going to issue at 100 rupees each. So total consideration that you're going to get is for 20 shares 100 rupees, you're going to get which is nothing but 2000 rupees. So your purchase consideration is 2000. So you're going to get 20 shares, which is going to be worth 100 rupees each. So 2000 rupees is what you're getting as your PC, and this is how you have to calculate your purchase consideration. Okay, I hope you have completely understood this in clear detail. Fine. So this is how you do it, and more, if you want more understanding of that, watch my second part where you will be able to understand in sums how we are applying this. Okay, perfect. So until now you have found how to find out PC. So here there are a few points that you have to note. Here there are a few points that you have to note. The first point is in relation to swap ratio. Okay, so swap ratio, which we discussed right here, the swap ratio, how you have to find out. So there are two methods. First, either it will be directly given in the question. If it is not directly given in the question, then you have to use something known as intrinsic value method, or intrinsic value data which is given in the question. You have to take use of it. Okay. Now, if suppose example, if it's directly given in the question, what you do is like I told you above itself. Suppose they are telling you, if you already have 5 shares in the old company, you are going to get 4 shares in the new company. For exchange of this 5 shares, you're going to get 4 shares in the new company. Suppose you had 20 shares in the old company. Okay, suppose you had 20 shares in the old company. So if you had 20 shares in the old company, and for all the 5 shares that you have held, you're going to get 4 shares. Then what will be the formula here? The formula here I've written a little bit wrongly. So it's value of new shares and okay. So here what you are going to do is you have to take the old company share. So the old company share is 20 shares. Okay. So how much you're going to, you're going to get in exchange? You're going to get 4 shares for exchange of 5 shares. So new company shares divided by old company shares into old company shares. If you're going to do the ratio into old company share, you're going to do, you will be able to find how much you're going to get in the new company. So you're going to get totally 16 shares in the new company. I hope you understood this. So the swap ratio formula only I've given you here. If you already know how to use the swap ratio formula, then you need not concentrate much on this. You can directly apply and find out. Okay. Next is, if not, intrinsic value data will be given in the question. If directly not given, use intrinsic value data. So there will intrinsic value in normal sense. What you can understand for intrinsic value is that it is more like your market value. It is more like your market value. Okay. So this is what is intrinsic value. Just understand this for now. Okay. So you have to now see that how much old shares are there in the company and what is the old company's intrinsic value. So you will get a total amount. So there are 20 shares, old shares, intrinsic value of each share is 20 rupees. So totally in the old company, I have a share worth of 400. I have a share worth of 400. In the new company, how much is the market price? What is the market price per share of new company? Suppose the market price per share of new company is 40 rupees. So in the new company, how much shares will I get? I'll get 10 shares. So here I'll explain you this again. So they are saying what is the old company shares first multiplied by the old company's intrinsic value. You will get how much total value of shares you're holding. Then divided by new company's intrinsic value so that you are able to find out how much shares you'll get in the new company. So 20 shares I was holding in old company. Each was worth 20 rupees. Each intrinsic value was 20 rupees. So totally I was having shares. Worth 400 rupees. The intrinsic value of the new company share, each share is worth 40 rupees there. So how much shares am I going to get now? So I'm going to get 10 shares in the new company. Okay. So I hope you understood this calculation also. So in case if they tell you in the question, intrinsic value per equity share, okay, that time what you have to do is directly, if the intrinsic value is not given, they are telling you to find out what is the intrinsic value per equity share, then use this formula and find out. So how are you going to find out the intrinsic shares is in the company, what are the sundry assets, take it at market value, what are the sundry liability, take it in the payable value, what value you have to pay it, and the preference shareholders also at what value you have to pay out. So sundry assets at market value minus sundry liabilities at payable value minus preference shareholders at payable value divided by number of equity shares. If you do, you will be able to find out the intrinsic value per equity share. Usually this will not be asked in the question. So until here, if you are able to understand also, well and good. Okay. So this was all about your net payment method. So this was all about your net payments method. Okay. Now let's move on to the second method of finding out the PC, which is your net assets method. So if net payment method you are not able to apply, only and only then you will come to net assets method. When will you not be able to apply? When will you not be able to apply the net payment method? One, they have not clearly mentioned In what form are they paying? In what form are they paying? They have not clearly mentioned, or you are not able to arrive at what amount, at what amount are they paying. So what is the total amount they are trying to pay? You are not able to understand that. You will, you will be ignoring the net payment method and coming to net asset method. Okay, if you're not able to understand how much amount you're paying, how will you find out the PC? PC is a complete question mark this, so you cannot use that method. Okay, so net assets method is what you're going to use in that case. Fine. So net assets method, it's a very easy method. What is net assets? Net assets is assets minus liabilities. If you do, you will find out the net assets. So how will you find out the purchase consideration here using net assets method? So you have to take assets which are taken over at agreed value minus liabilities which are taken over at agreed value. Taken over means with these assets and liabilities are of old company, but the new company has agreed that they will take over this assets and liabilities from the old company. Okay, so those assets and liabilities alone you have to take care. So assets taken over at agreed value, liabilities taken over at agreed value, or if they have not agreed any value, then you can use book value. First preference to agreed value. If that is not given, second preference to the book value. So if you do so, you will be able to find out the purchase consideration using the net assets method, a very simple method. Okay, perfect. So here in relation to assets, what are the things that you have to remember is that if fictitious assets are given in the question, you should not consider that. Second is, if in the book they are telling you that, in the books there is a certain intangible asset which was not recorded, but that also the new company is taking over, it's okay. Whatever assets the new company is taking over, whether it is recorded or unrecorded in the books of old company, you can still include that. Okay, I hope you understood this. Next point is in relation to contingent liability. If a contingent liability is to be paid, you can take that also into consideration, because contingent liability is not a liability yet. But if this contingent liability is to be paid in the future also, that also you can take into consideration while you're calculating the PC, and you can write it here in the liabilities taken over column. Okay, so I hope you understood this. So here there is a few notes for you to easily guide through the questions. If the question is going to mention to you then X Limited has absorbed, taken over, or took over Y Limited, that means all the assets of Y Limited are now going to belong to X Limited. It means all the assets and liabilities were taken over. If they have just mentioned absorbed, taken over, or took over, and no other sentence they have given in the question, that means all the assets and liabilities have been taken over, no ifs and buts. But if in the question they mention later on, then except a few things they are not taken over, suppose a PP is not taken over, or a trade payable is not taken over, then you should not consider this. Only whatever has been taken over, consider that. Or if they are told that certain assets will be sold before they are taken over itself, these assets are going to be sold in the near future, then don't take them also. So in conclusion, whatever has been taken over by the new company, only take that. If something is not taken over, exclude that. Exclude those assets and liabilities. If certain assets are to be sold, then exclude them also. Okay, don't take that in the calculation of net assets method. I hope you understood this. Next, if the question is mentioning that X Limited has taken over certain assets, means it has not taken over all assets. In the first case, what happened? So here what happened? They have directly told that X Limited has absorbed, taken over, or took over the entire company. When they say so, you assume that everything has been taken over. But here they are saying that only certain assets or liabilities have been taken over, and only those certain, only them only you have to take for the purpose of calculation. Please don't take all the assets and liabilities which are given there in the question. Okay. So if you still did not understand these points, you can refer to my sums video, so you understand while I explain them through the sums. But I think it's still pretty simple, so you should have all understood this. Okay. So this was all about your purchase consideration. I know the page has become a mess, but I hope you understood everything. Net payments method is also done. Net assets method is also done. Okay. So now let's move on to the books of old company. So if you now, this is very, very important. So how you prepare the books of old company, that means what is happening. So the old company is being taken over by the new company. So now the old company's books has to be closed. So how you are going to do this closing is what we are going to understand. Okay, and this is going to go in a complete flow. So you have to listen from the starting till the end to get a complete understanding of this. Okay, So example, assume that there is a old company's balance sheet here. Old company's balance sheet is given here. And these are the items which is there in the old company's balance sheet. These are the items which are there in the old company's balance sheet. So you have equity share capital, preference share capital, reserves and surplus. Apart from that, in liabilities, you have long-term liabilities and current liabilities. Then you have some assets, which is current assets, non-current assets, and as well as cash. And then you have some other kind of assets, which is miscellaneous assets and fictitious assets. Why have I written these both separately? Because these need some kind of separate treatment or special treatment, we can call as. That's the reason I've written this separately. Now what you have to do is you have to dismantle this whole balance sheet. You have to dismantle this whole balance sheet. If you are able to do so, then the books of old company is done and dusted. That means old company's books have been closed. Okay, so now let's start one by one. First, let's see how do you treat the liabilities and how do you treat the assets. After doing that, we'll move on to the rest of the things. Okay, so here you have to open an account which is called as a realization account. So in this realization account, what you're going to do is whatever money you're going to sell, by selling whatever money you're going to get, or by purchasing something, or by settling some liabilities. So if you're going to sell some assets, you're going to receive some money. If you are going to settle any liabilities, the money is going to go away from your hand. So basically, how much money is going out or coming in, so all that during the liquidation, whatever process is happening, that everything is going to come under realization account. Okay, yes. Okay, so now let's start with the realization account. So all the assets which are there in the old company's balance sheet, you have to write down it in book value here. So then all these are gone. So usually assets have what nature of this thing. So assets all have debit nature. Okay, so here you are coming up and crediting it. So it has got set off. So all the assets you have recorded it in book value in the realization account. So this is done and dusted. Okay. Next is you have to now write all liabilities under the realization account again at book value. So all the liabilities also you have taken out of the book. So this usually has credit nature. Now you're debiting it here. So it has got set off. I hope you understood this. Okay, so assets are done and liabilities done. Let me just mark this. So assets are done, liabilities are done. Both you have to write at what value? Both you have to bring it out at book value, which is showing in the balance sheet. Done. Next, what you're going to do is, in case if there are some assets, okay, out of these all assets or out of all these liabilities, if there are some assets or liabilities which you want to settle or which you have realized by selling it. Suppose let's first take liabilities. So if there is suppose a liability called as trade payable. Now this trade payable is not being taken over by the new company, and you have decided that you're going to settle this to them. You're going to settle this to them. That means you're going to pay off these trade payables. The old company themselves are going to pay off these trade payables which are there in their books. Then in such case, you have to write to bank account liabilities which were not take over, so it was settled by the old company itself. So new company did not take over these liabilities, so the old company themselves settled this liability. So that will come next. So that is going to come as to bank account, because you're paying out to those liabilities or paying out to those trade payables. Okay, so this is done. This is for liabilities. Same way for assets also. If some assets are not being taken over, then what you can do is you need not keep it with yourself. These assets you can go and sell off yourself and get some money out of it. So if some assets are not being taken over by the new company, then what the old company will do is the old company will take those assets. Example, there is a furniture piece. The old company will take the furniture piece and sell it off by themselves, and from that they can get some money. So that money is what you have written as by bank account here. So assets which are not taken over but you have realized it, or but you have sold off this for which you instead you have got money. Okay, so this is also done. Okay, so related to assets and liabilities, I have made you understand all of it. Fine. Let me just clear this out. Give me a second. Perfect. Okay. Yes. Next they are telling you that under realization account, here in case during realization you are making some expenses. Okay, suppose when you are selling off these assets, or when you are settling these liabilities, or when if you are hiring a person to all do some liquidation activities, so it can be any kind of expenses. So whatever kind of expenses that you are doing which is related to this realization or liquidation, those expenses you can put here. Those expenses also you can note it down under realization account. Okay, so here the expenses which are paid by the old company will only come here, because for whom we are preparing this realization account, we are dismantling the balance sheet of old company only. So this realization account is also in relation to old company only. So if old company is paying any expenses, only those expenses will come here. So now in next your question might be, if the realization expenses are being paid by the new company, where will it go? In the old company's book, there will be no entry. In the old company's books, there is no entry. Then this entry for the realization expense which is paid by the new company, it will come under new company's book. So for them, it's only whatever is paid by the old company is going to come here under expenses. Perfect. Next what you are going to do is, you are going to so when you are doing this transfer and everything, right? So when you are doing this transfer from old company to the new company, I told you that new company will pay you some purchase consideration. So the new company is going to, so the new company is going to pay the old company some purchase consideration. So that also is the money that you have received. So realization account itself, write by new company whatever PC you have received, from the new company whatever PC you have received, write it here. Okay. So you paid the liabilities. So here you paid the liabilities, here you paid the expenses, here you received the money from selling the assets, here again you received money from the new company. So all this once you have written here. Next, what they are telling you here is that there is something known as statutory reserves, which will be there in the old company's book. So now let's move on to this. So reserves and surplus. So under reserves and surplus, there are two kinds of reserves and surplus. One is a statutory reserve and the other one is a normal reserve, or others we can write. So what is this statutory reserve? So statutory reserves are those reserves which has to be compulsorily maintained by the company for a specific number of years. Suppose for the next 2 to 3 years, you might have to maintain the statutory reserve as it is. So that statutory reserve, what you're going to do is, at what, so the statutory reserve, for example, this statutory reserve which you have to maintain. For example, it can be a workman compensation reserve. So what are the different kinds of statutory reserve? I have given a example here in the end. But before that, now for example, you understand that there is something known as workman compensation reserve, workman compensation, what do we say, reserve which you have in the company. And this workman compensation reserve, what happens, it is made so that in case if there is any employee who get injured, you will use this money to settle those injuries or give them a health checkup or whatever it is. And this reserve has to be maintained for the next 2 3 years. That means if you're closing off the old company's book, you cannot close off this workman compensation reserve. You have to carry this over to the new company's book. You have to carry this over to the new company's book, which is compulsory. Okay. So because we have to carry this separately, you are going to write as by statutory reserves under realization column. Okay. And that too, you cannot write this statutory reserve at what value you have recorded in the old company's book. You cannot write that here. Suppose there is statutory reserve of workman compensation reserve, and you think that the value which is so the value which is written in the balance sheet of the old company, suppose 8,000 rupees, but you are expecting that there might be only a liability of 5,000 rupees. You have created a reserve of 8,000, but you don't think that 8,000 will be fully realized. You only think 5,000 will be the expected liability in the future. That means only this 5,000 should only come as expected value here or in the realization account. Total 8,000, please don't put it here. So what do we do to the rest 3,000? If 5,000 we have noted in realization account, what do we do to the rest 3,000 rupees which is lying in the balance sheet? I'll tell you the treatment. Wait a minute. Okay, for now, just understand that statutory reserve at expected value you have to write in the realization account. This is also done. Okay, so now then there are 2 to 3 more things which is there in the realization account, which I tell you, to preference shareholders. This I'll come in a bit. What is this? And so whenever you do your realization account, whatever balancing figure is there, it will go to your equity shareholders account. So either if you are making a profit, it will go to equity shareholders. If you are making a loss, that will also go to your equity shareholders account. I hope you have completely understood the realization account. Okay. Now let's again move back to the balance sheet, where you have to again dismantle the rest of the things. So now let's start dismantling the equity share capital and remaining reserves and surplus. Okay, so we are done with the assets, we are done with the liabilities. Now we'll be dismantling the equity share capital and reserves and surplus. To whose account does this equity share capital belong to? It belongs to equity shareholders. So now next we have to prepare an account called as equity shareholders account. In that equity shareholders account, write what is their equity share capital and whatever other than statutory reserves are there, please write those reserves and surplus here. Please write those reserves and surplus here. Okay, I hope you understood. So equity share capital and reserves and surplus have a credit balance. Here you have come and debited it, which means you have dismantled it. Okay, once you have written these both, I told you that statutory reserve which we saw in the, one second, So as I told you that the statutory reserve which we saw in the realization account, only the expected liability you will note down it in the realization account. What about the remaining amount? If the total balance sheet value is 8,000, but expected liability is only 5,000, and 5,000 you have noted down in the realization account, the remaining 3,000 which is there in the balance sheet, where will it go? It will come to the equity shareholders account as statutory reserve. Whatever the total amount is, from that minus the expected value. So the remaining 3,000 is going to come in the equity shareholder account. I hope you understood. In our balance sheet, there were two more accounts, which is miscellaneous expenses and fictitious assets. So if these two also you have to dismantle, these both will again go to realization, sorry, equity shareholders account only. So these both have a debit balance. So go to the equity shareholders and credit this. So two miscellaneous expenses, two fictitious assets. If you do this, so all the items which can be dismantled and taken to the equity shareholders account have been taken down. Okay, after you do all of this, there are two more items which you have to understand. There are two more items which you have understand, which will come under the equity shareholders account. Now what are these two items? I will tell you in a bit. In the realization account also, there was one item which I had to explain, and again under the equity shareholders account, there are two more items that I have to explain, which I will do. Have patience. Okay, so now once this is done, whatever the balancing figure is coming, it will be either realization account. Either you will have a profit from the realization account or loss from the realization account. You have to write this here. So the balancing figure which you are carrying forward from realization account to equity shareholder account, that is only going to come here. Okay, so it will come on the opposite sides. Sorry. So the loss will come here, the profit will come here. Okay, so I hope you understood this. Fine, this is okay. Now next let's move on to the balance sheet. So under, if you go and see the balance sheet now, no, so everything is done and dusted, everything is done and dusted. One thing which is remaining is the preference share capital. So equity share capital done, reserves and surplus done, liabilities done, assets done. In assets, cash is spending, which I'll tell you. After that, miscellaneous expenses and fictitious assets are done. So now let's see the treatment of preference share capital. How are you going to dismantle it? So again, preference share capital is also going to go to preference shareholder account. Simple as that. So preference shareholder account you will create. In that, by preference share capital, you will open and write that balance here. Okay, yes. So once you write that balance, so here one thing again I have to explain you to preference shares from new company. I'll explain you that in a while. So whatever balance is there, put it into realization account. Put the balancing figure to the realization account. So that's all with your preference shareholder account. Okay, so I hope until now you have understood everything. Just give me a second. So equity shareholder done, preference shareholder done, reserves and surplus done, liabilities done, assets done, cash is pending, I'll tell you, and the rest of the two are done. So until now, what are the three accounts that I prepared? I prepared the realization account, I prepared the equity shareholders account, I prepared the preference shareholders account. Okay. So here now, what more breakup can you do? You have to think. So once you have dismantled the entire balance sheet, so dismantling the balance sheet will be your first task. Once you have dismantled the entire balance sheet, the second task will be to break down the PC. The second task will be to break down the PC. So now how are you going to break down this PC is what you're going to understand. So you have made an account called as new company account, which you have written down what is the PC amount. So now let's open a ledger of this new company and break down that PC. So next account you're going to open is called as a new company account. In that now we are going to break down the PC. Okay, so we have already put that PC amount in the realization account. So the double entry I'm giving here of PC. So realization account. Okay, so this is a double entry effect. Double entry effect. Now this PC, I told you that PC you can pay in any form. You can either pay it in the form of equity shares or preference shares or debentures or cash. So whatever form you're paying this in, put a breakdown of it. Put a breakdown of that. Either you're paying in the form of equity shares or preference shares or in the form of cash. Usually in our questions, what will happen? Equity shareholders will be paid using equity shares, preference shareholders will be paid using preference shares, and equity shareholders can also get cash and preference shareholders can also get cash. So this is how usually it is given in the question. Irrespective of the fact that you can pay equity shareholder or preference shareholder in any form, this is how they are given in our book. Okay. So now once you've broken down these three, again open account for all these three. Again open account for all these three. Once this breakdown is done, you have to give a second effect. You have to give a second effect of these three. Correct? So now how you are going to give a second effect of these is you will open three more accounts now. First is equity shareholder of new company account, preference shareholder of new company account. So equity shareholder of new company account, preference shareholder of new company account. Two accounts you have to open. For cash, I'll tell you in the end. Like I told you, for cash, I'm going to tell you in the end. Okay. So equity shareholders or equity shares of new company, first double effect will come as new company, because under new company account you have put equity shares of new company. So under new equity shares of new company, you'll put two new companies. Same way, under preference shares of new company, you'll put two new company. So this is done. So these equity shares of new company, to whom it is issued? It is issued to equity shareholders. So put their account here. This preference shares of new company, to whom it is issued? It is issued to the preference shareholders of old company, preference shareholders of old company. Okay, so this is how you are issuing it. To whom you are issuing it? To whom is it issued? Their names you have to put here: equity shareholders of old company, preference shareholders of old company. Okay, so I hope you understood this until now. Okay, now again you have to keep thinking how you keep on giving the second effect. So now there you have written equity shareholders of old company, preference shareholders of old company. So again go into these both accounts and give a second effect of this equity shares and preference shares. Now let's move on to the equity shareholders of old company. So this is the equity shareholder account of old company. In that you have to go and write two equity shares from the new company, how much you have received. Same way, go to the preference shareholders of old company and write to preference shares from new company, how much you have received. So if you write these both, the double effect of both these accounts will get done and these both accounts will get closed. Okay, I hope you understood this. So for cash, usually what happens is that this cash may be either given to equity shareholder or given to preference shareholders. Suppose we are assuming that it was given to equity shareholders, then in such case, right, from the new company you have received some cash, you have to write that under equity shareholders account. So the double effect of this cash is also done and dusted. You need not open a separate account. If you want, you open, or else directly go to the equity shareholder account and write from new company you have received from cash also. That will also work. Okay, so with this we finish the realization, or we finish the closing of old company's book. Okay, should I take you through the entire thing again? Let's quickly memorize under 1 minute. So first you will see the balance sheet of old company, dismantle the entire balance sheet. You will have to prepare realization account, equity shareholder account and preference shareholder account. Then you will prepare account called as a new company account, in which you will break down the PC. When you break down the PC, again from the breakdown you have to put a second effect. So you'll open account called equity shares of new company account and preference shares of new company account. In that you will see to whom it was issued. So in their accounts you're going to put a second effect there. Okay, so we have understood all these accounts very thoroughly and how you have to close this and how it's going to go, and I hope you understood this. There is one question in the illustration which is related to the closing the ledger. So the same ledgers, what they'll tell you is, first what I would advise you when it comes to question is that first prepare all these ledgers, because it's easier to give a second entry or a second effect using these ledgers. Once you do that, you can now turn this into journal entries and write that. Or if you feel you're already comfortable, you know what goes into what account and it's easier to do this journal entry, do that. I'm telling you, don't go for journal entries first, because finding the balancing figure will be difficult. So balancing figure will come under realization account, and the balancing figure will next come under preference shareholder account. Apart from these both accounts, the equity shareholder is the account which is going to be lastly prepared. Last preparation will be of equity shareholder account only. So first you will find the balance of preference shareholder account, put it into realization account. Then realization account you are going to balance it and put it into equity shareholder account. Then the equity shareholder account will get balanced finally. Okay. So I hope you have understood. If I'm able to improvise these notes, whatever I'm able to, I've told you right now, if I'm able to put it in the text format when I'm releasing these notes, that I'll do that. Okay, fine. I hope we have covered everything here. The one thing that I feel we have not covered is this one. This was the only thing left which I've not explained until now, which is two preference shareholders premium on redemption. So in case what happens is that when you are preparing this preference shareholders account, okay, and there is already some preference share capital, okay. But what happens is that suppose there is a preference share capital of 1 lakh rupees, but what you are paying this to this preference shareholders in the form of PC or in the form of preference shares from the new company, suppose you are paying 1,10,000. The how much amount you had to pay? Only 1 lakh. But what you are being, the new company is being generous and paying this preference shareholders 1,10,000. So the remaining 10,000 balance which is there, this means whatever the already existing balance was there, on that they are receiving a premium on redemption. So this is nothing but premium on redemption, which will go as a balancing figure to your realization account. So that's what I've written here. to preference shareholders, premium on redemption, what you're getting extra other than the share capital, that is going to come here. I hope you have understood this thoroughly. You will understand this better when you are doing the sums too. Okay, so this was all about your in the books of old company. Now next what we are going to see is in the books of new company, but before seeing that, I have written here separately, or note also I've written here. Let's just see that. So cash of the old company is not taken over by the new company. In the question they have explicitly mentioned that the cash of old company will not be taken, will not be taken over by the new company. Then in such case you have to prepare a cash account separately. But if in the question they have not told anything that they will take over or not take over, assume that it has been taken over by the new company and dismantle that cash also into the realization account. While you are writing the assets here, include cash also here. In the case they have not taken over, only in that case a separate cash account has to come. Okay, I hope you understood this. So what are included in statutory reserves? Workman compensation reserve, foreign export reserve, export profit or project reserve, investment allowance reserve, tea development reserve. So if any of these you see in the question, you have to see, you have to understand for this kind of reserves, there is going to be a special treatment. Okay. So these you can just read and memorize it. Fine. Now we are moving to the last part of the chapter, which is in the books of new company. If you understand this, with this the chapter is done and dusted. All the major concepts of the chapter will be done and dusted. Okay. So in the books of new company, here you can prepare the journal entries in the book of new company using two methods. One is using a purchase method, other one is using a merger method. So merger method is also called as pooling of interest method. It is also known as pooling of interest method. Usually purchase method is what is asked in the question, but in case if in question merger method is asked, you can do using that. So in the question they will mention whether you have to solve using purchase method or whether you have to solve using merger method. So using that info you can do it. In case if in question they have not clearly mentioned whether you have to solve using purchase method or using merger method, see if these conditions are being fulfilled. If these conditions are being fulfilled, use the merger method. If these conditions are not being fulfilled, use purchase method. Okay. So to account under merger method, few conditions have to be fulfilled. There are totally 5 conditions which has to be satisfied, and all the 5 conditions has to be satisfied. If any of the above conditions are not fulfilled, then you have to use or prepare the new company's books or the journal entries under new company under purchase method. So what are the 5 conditions we are going to see now? First condition is that the new company which is there, no, it has to acquire all the assets and liabilities. So whatever assets and liabilities are there under the old company, it has to acquire every single thing. The new company has to acquire every single thing. So that is condition number 1. Condition number 2 is that all these assets and liabilities should be acquired at book value. You cannot revalue these assets and liabilities. You cannot say, okay, PP is there in your company for 1 lakh rupees. I will take that PP only for 80,000 rupees. Like that, you cannot negotiate. Whatever is given as book value, at that value, you have to acquire it. Okay, this is number 2. Number 3 is whatever business the old company is having, the same business is to be continued by the new company also. You cannot change the business of the old company. Okay, this is done. Next is, they are saying that 90% of the equity share capital holding or the equity shareholders. So 90% of the equity share capital which is there in the people who are holding the equity share capital of the old company, 90% of them should also become the shareholders of the new company. So there might be some shareholders who are holding 90% equity share capital in the old company. All these people should again become the shareholders of the new company also. So this condition will directly give you in the question whether it is getting fulfilled or not. So I don't think you will have to use so much brains for this. Okay. Condition number 5 is that the PC should be given in the form of equity shares or preference shares only. You cannot give it in the form of debentures or cash. So only in the form of PC should be given in the form of equity share or preference shares only. Okay. I hope you understand this. Fine. So if all these 5 conditions are fulfilled, use the merger method. If any one of the 5 conditions are also not fulfilled, you have to use the purchase method. Okay, I hope these conditions are very much clear to you. Now we are going to see the journal entries under the purchase and merger method, and once we see that, our chapter of amalgamation concept is done and dusted. See how simple this amalgamation chapter is, right? Now when I'm going to do questions, you will feel it's even more simpler. Okay, and you guys have made it in your head that this is very tough. So whenever you approach accounting chapter, make sure you're learning from the right person, so everything gets super simple for you all. Okay, perfect. And the right notes are also very important, correct? So make sure to download these notes from the Telegram channel too. Okay. First, we are going to see how you solve using purchase method, and simultaneously you can see how you solve using merger method also. So under purchase method, first journal entry will be of PC due, that you have to pay a certain amount of PC. Okay. So how much PC you are going to pay? Or you have to write that in the business purchase account, because you're going to purchase the business of the old company. So you will make an account called as business purchase account. From that account only you are going to pay the PC. So business purchase account debit. To whom are you paying? To whom you are paying? You are paying it to the liquidator of the old company. To the old company you won't pay, but to the liquidator of old company you are going to pay. So write that to liquidator of old company. So this is a PC due entry. I have not yet paid, just a due that you have to pay so much to the liquidator of old company. Okay. So PC amount you write there. The same entry will come under the merger books also. Okay. Next, journal entry number 2 will be that. Okay, so journal entry number 2, what they are saying is, first you have to give a double effect of this business purchase entry. First, let's give the double effect of this business purchase account entry. Okay. So this business purchase, how you are going to do this business purchase? This business purchase you are going to do using acquiring the assets and liabilities of the old company. So first write that assets account debit, at what value you have agreed to take it, at liabilities what value you have agreed to take it. First take that, make that takeover. So for that only you are paying the PC. For that only you are paying the PC. So until now it's clear. Now whatever balancing figure you get, that balancing figure, if it is on the debit side, a goodwill account will be created, which means you have paid more to acquire that business. You have paid more to acquire that business, so goodwill will be created. If a capital reserve is created, if the balancing figure is coming on the credit side and a capital reserve is created, which means what you have acquired is more than what you have paid. Okay. Yes. So you need not remember this. Just see wherever the balancing figure is coming. If it's coming on the debit side, goodwill. If it's coming on the credit side, it's a capital reserve. I hope this is done. So here you have taken over the assets and liabilities. Now once you have taken over the assets and liabilities, what you have to do? You have to make the payment of the PC. You have to make the payment of the PC. So how you are going to make the payment? You have to make the payment to the liquidator of the old company. So to liquidator of the old company, you are going to pay the PC. But in what form are you going to pay? You can either pay using equity shares or preference shares or cash or debentures. When you are paying in the form of equity shares, you can also give out some premium also. You can also give out some premium, so that premium will be here. So okay, this is what we have given as breakup. So under equity share capital, only face value you will give. If you have paid some premium, write that in the securities premium account. So this is how you are going to make the payment of PC to the old company. To the old company you are going to make the payment. Fine. I hope this is understood. Now see the same thing in the merger account also. In the merger account, when you are taking over the assets and liabilities, I told you that all the assets and liabilities are taken over. All the assets and liabilities are taken over, which means even the reserves of the old company is taken over. The rest of the thing is same only. So you have business. If you see, rest of the things are same only. You have business purchase account. Okay, you are getting it at the cost of PC. Assets you are taking over, liabilities you are taking over. But here there is one catch. I told you that assets have to be taken over only at book value. Liabilities also have to be taken over at book value only. So that you are doing. Apart from that, even the reserves you will be taking over, because all the assets and liabilities have to be taken over. So even reserves are being taken over. Then that takeover also will happen only at book value. So that is one extra and important thing here, as well as you're taking everything at a book value, so that is also important here. And the same way, if you get a debit balance, it's a goodwill. If you get a balancing figure on the credit side, it's going to be a capital reserve. And next you're going to do the payment of PC the same way. Once you've taken over everything, you will do payment of PC. Payment of PC will be in the same form. So liquidator of old company you're going to pay. And in what form you will pay? Either in the form of equity share capital, preference share capital, cash, debentures and securities premium. But your question will be here, in the form of debentures you cannot pay. Sorry. Yes. So only cash will come here. Okay. So equity share and preference share, I told you when I was teaching you the concept that you can pay only in the form of equity share or preference shares. So equity share, securities premium, preference share capital is understandable. How did this cash come here? So in case if there is any shares, which you are getting in fractions, so those for fractional shares, you cannot issue fractional shares. For instead of those fractional shares, you can pay it in the form of cash. Instead of those fractional shares, you can pay it in the form of cash. So that alone will come in the form of cash here. Okay. So I hope you understood the first three journal entries. First was PC due, then taking over of assets and liabilities, then payment of PC. That next, fourth adjustments would be here. Then you have to record something known as statutory reserves of the old company. So statutory reserves, I told you that the new company has to maintain the statutory reserve for the next 2 to 3 years, correct? So you cannot, you cannot just leave the statutory reserves in the old company and just leave it like that. So you have to take it over to the new company. So from the first, what you do is statutory reserves which are there in the old company, you transfer it to an account known as amalgamation adjustment account. So you transfer it to an account called as amalgamation adjustment account. Okay, and in this account it will be showing in the new company. In the new company, this is the account which will be shown. Okay, I hope you understood the journal entry number 4 also. Fine. Here in the merger account, there will be no entry as such because all reserves have already been taken over by the new company. So it's unlike the purchase method. So since all the reserves have already been taken over in the journal entry number 2, so statutory reserves, no separate entry will be there. Okay, got it. Next is entry number 5 is if for the debenture holders of the old company, if you are issuing some kind of debentures because they are not the owners, so they will not come under PC. They have to be settled separately only. So to the debenture holders of old company, if you are issuing some debentures, that you have to write as an entry again. So it is going to be to the debenture holders of old company, you are paying something. What you are paying in the form of debentures of new company. On that, if you are paying some premium also, you can write that. So any premium on redemption if you are giving, that also you can write here. Okay, so I hope you understood this. So for the old companies debenture holders, you can either give in the form of debentures also, and you can also pay some premium to them. So that is what is given here. The same thing will come under merger method also. So journal entry number 5 is done. Okay, next is if there is any expenses which have been borne by the new company. So in the when we were preparing the books of old company, there under the realization account, we understood, if there is any expenses which have been taken care by the old company, you will write there. In case of new company, if there is realization expenses, sorry, if the new company has paid any realization expenses or liquidation expenses of the old company, how you will do so? In the form of cash. Example, if you are paying, then with what account are you going to adjust it? Here you will adjust it either using the goodwill account or capital reserve account. In the journal entry number 2, either you might have created a goodwill or either you might have created a capital reserve. So whatever you have created using that account, you will adjust here either using goodwill or capital reserve. Whatever you can adjust and pay this in the form of cash. So that is your journal entry number 6. Same will be coming in the merger method also. Okay. Now last 3 journal entries which you have to understand. First is if there is any preliminary expenses, that also you will pay off. If there is any preliminary expense, that is also you pay off in the old company. Okay, so how you are going to pay that off? So preliminary expenses account debit to cash account. Using cash, you are going to pay it off. Same thing will come under merger method also. Done. Next is unrealized profit on stock transfer. Okay, if there is some stock which is lying, if there is some stock which is lying in the old company's book, if there is some stock which is lying in the old company's book, and this old company's book, the stock has not yet been sold. This stock is not yet sold, but it is showing in the books of old companies at sale value, which means it is showing at cost plus profit. But you know that right now the books are inflated because these profits are unrealized. These profits are unrealized by the old company. So this profits which is there, which is showing under the stock, this profits have to be eliminated. Only if this sale, the inventory has been sold, you can show, you can book that profit. But right now the inventory that you are showing in the old company's book is inflated because you have also added profits in it, which is not the right thing to do. So the profits you have to remove it. Okay, the unrealized profit you have to remove it. How you are going to remove it? So you have to first reduce the stock. So stock usually has a debit balance. You credit it to reduce the stock or reduce the profit from it. So to stock account, you have to reduce the unrealized profit. And how you are going to adjust? You are going to adjust it in the goodwill account only, not capital reserve account. You have to adjust it in the goodwill account only. Okay. I hope you understood. Same entry will come under the merger method also. Fine. Final entries, if there is any mutual owings that the new company and the old company, if they are having any mutual owings, then in such case that also you have to eliminate. So liability account debit to asset account debit, sorry, asset account, you are going to eliminate this mutual owings also because it's again a double entry in the books which you don't want it. Okay, it's a duplicate entry in the books, sorry, not double entry, duplicate entry in the books. So you should eliminate it. Same will come under merger method also. So the main difference in merger method will come when which is in the second journal entry where you have to take over everything at book value. Then on the fourth entry where you cannot do the statutory reserve, and even in the third entry where cash will only come in the case of fractional shares. So otherwise all the things are same only. So if you go through all of these notes once again, you will be thoroughly able to understand how you have to account in the books of new company. So these journal entries you have to once read, because in our exam they will directly ask you that past journal entries in the books of new company, or make a ledger, or past journal entry in the books of old company, or find out the PC. So these are the major three kind of questions which are being asked in the exam, which I've given in this notes completely. So I think this is only what this is. These notes are approximate for 7 pages only, but it covers your entire amalgamation chapter. Okay, so I hope all the concepts of amalgamation chapter are clear to you. If there is any doubts, please let me know that in the comment section below. And even if you found this video helpful and you have thoroughly understand amalgamation chapter, let me know that also from the comment section below. Yes, the notes will be again in the Telegram channel like I told you, and the next video of this amalgamation chapter will be released soon, where we will be covering all the sums, so you get a holistic understanding of how to go about the sums too. Yes guys, so with this we come towards the end of the video, and I hope you like this video. If you did, please make sure to like, share, and also subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video guys. Thank you so much.